I don't care how stupid it is. One, if you don't believe in yourself, you won't do it. And two, if you really need someone to believe in it, I'll believe in it, because it takes one person and you never know how far that can go.
You are now tuning in to the Roughnecks Podcast with your host, Cole Nixon. Much love.
But thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Roughnecks Podcast. I am your host, Cole Nixon. I'm a senior at Ohio Wesleyan University in Delaware, Ohio, majoring in business marketing with a minor in data analytics. I also play football for the Battling Bishops with a love for sports and entrepreneurship. That's why I started this podcast. I wanted to be able to share the knowledge and advice of sports figures and entrepreneurs with all of you. Just about every week, I try to bring on a guest who is viewed as a leader and motivator in the world of athletics, coaching, entrepreneurship, business, and just life in general. A new episode is released every single Monday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Don't miss Motivation Monday at the end of each episode. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at Roughnecks Podcast and Twitter at Roughnecks Pod C1. If you want to contact the Roughnecks Podcast about potential sponsorship or collaboration, then message us on social media or email at roughneckspodcast@gmail.com. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review so you don't miss any of our future episodes. Shout out to Dante Fair for the podcast music introduction and P&H Studio for the logo. Now let's get into this week's show. Joining the show this week, we have somebody by the name of Nick Moyer, aka Money Moyer. I met Moyer through the football program here at Ohio Wesleyan, where he is a kicker. And I think he is an excellent guest for this week because of the fact that he has such a drive and passion for his beloved Browns, the Cleveland Browns. You know, you see a lot of people that love the Browns, but I've got two people that I've met, Joe Urick and Nick Moyer, who, let me tell you, never seen anybody love a team, love a sports organization more than those two. Moyer might actually have the edge on Joe Urick when it comes to how much passion he has for the Cleveland Browns. I hope you guys enjoy my conversation that I have with Nick Money Moyer. What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Roughnecks Podcast. This is episode 21 and the second episode of the month of February, which has a topic of passion and love. Before I dive into this week's episode, I want to give a quick little shout out to Ohio Wesleyan. They helped me find a space to record in private without interruption and distractions while here on campus. I hate to say it, but it's actually probably better than the setup I have back home. But I'm a freelancing podcaster, and you just work with what you have. But for real, thank you, Ohio Wesleyan, for helping a podcaster out. Anyway, like I said last week, we were supposed to have Trevor Garber this week, but unfortunately Garber wasn't able to make this week. We did a little switcheroo with our guest. And we still have a good guest, and one of the guests that we had in February. And joining me today is Nick Moyer, a.k.a. Money Moyer. Welcome to the podcast, Moyer.
Thank you. How are you today?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
Just, another day in paradise here at Ohio Wesleyan.
No kidding. Thank God. It's first week of classes, man. It's my last first week of classes. This is crazy.
You happy about that?
I don't know. We'll see. I don't know yet.
I don't know. I don't want to say that I'm happy about, that. Like, oh, it's just another week of classes for me, but,
yeah. It goes by fast. It's crazy. So, to start every episode, I like to give our guest a little bit, or I like to allow our guests to give a background on themselves. So, just tell us who Money Moyer is.
All right. I'm from Avon, Ohio, which is a suburb of Cleveland. And, I play football here. I'm a kicker. A lot of people know me. I got a brother. I got a mom and dad at home. I play pickup basketball in my spare time. That's you'll hear a lot about that. I'm just a very simple guy. Always outside. Don't really need everybody these days are on their technology. I grew up and I was always outside. So
it's better to be that way sometimes. I wish more people were that way nowadays. Well, it's kind of bad.
Well, it's hard. I'll give you an example. Like literally right before this, I go, it's 30 degrees out. I go, I got tights on. I was outside shooting baskets. I go, I think I'm the only person in Ohio that's probably doing that right now.
No kidding. You probably are. So first thing I gotta ask is, where did Money Moyer actually come from? Is that something that started here, or did that start back home?
All right, that started back home. So when I was in high school, I ran track and I played football. When I was running track, one of my buddies, who is I think he's a senior at Kent State right now, David Gibson. I was running one time, and I was killing everyone's time. He started calling me Money Moyer when they threw me in the relay, and it just stuck from there.
Who called you at first here? How did that get picked up? Or
I don't know. It was probably something from either Ben or Kellen got a hold of it, and now everybody's calling me it.
It's kind of funny how quick nicknames, like with our football team especially, get picked up. It's to the point where sometimes I don't even remember people's names. I have literally forgot some people's first names or last names or their actual, or when we call Tall Meat. Sometimes I forgot his name was Jordan Taylor. I was one day I was sitting there, I was like, what the heck is his actual name?
Well, it's ironic because I'm a kicker, so I'm not on the field a lot. But when I'm on it, I go, I got to be, exactly. I got to come in the clutch for us.
Kickers are actually one of the most important people in my opinion. It's kind of it's an underrated position and underappreciated. I feel like sometimes because you look at the double doink, that dude got his life threatened by people and But nobody said a word about him before that happened. That's the thing, is he was not...
Unless if you're in Cleveland, because he was here in Cleveland before that.
Yeah, so. Well, everybody in Cleveland knows something about everybody. So what made a kid from Avon, Ohio, come here to Ohio Wesleyan University?
Well, our coaching staff, first off, is very, friendly, which is, their player... I think Coach Watts is the atmosphere, so it's player, you can go up to him and it's not they want to you're gonna get punished every time you talk to them. It's not you can go. You and I both know this. You can go. I can go to Coach Watts' office right now and start talking about the Browns, and I'll go get the board and stuff like that. And it's not gonna do anything. It's not gonna affect my relationship with him. It's you have it on the field and you have it off the field. That was one of the reasons. Another reason is they have my major. I'm gonna go be a teacher. So those were two, and then the theme of the Browns coming in will be a lot, but it is only a 2-hour drive home for me, so I am able to drive home and watch the Browns or the Cavs or the Indians.
See, that's kind of crazy because I look at it in the exact same way as you. When I was looking to go here, this was the school, one of the few schools where Watts, on my recruiting visit, the first time I think a head coach actually came and talked to me. Usually you have the assistant coaches or the interns that are working with you, that are the ones walking you around and stuff. Watts was Wittenberg's coach? No, yes, they are a rival, but Wittenberg's coach, I don't think he said a word to me on 2 visits that I went there.
Oh, I also have this, because you brought up Wittenberg. Don't get me wrong, winning is, first isn't everything, it's the only thing. And I don't want to shout out Wittenberg or anything, but when I was there, all I felt was win, win, win. When I'm here, I'm I get to feel like I'm on my own person.
And you have a separate family too.
Yeah.
Our football team is a whole separate family.
Oh yeah, and don't get me wrong, I want to win here, and we're that's the plan and all, but there's more to sometimes than just winning. And I kind of realize that as the more I grow up.
Oh, you think, look at that when I was on my visit at Wittenberg, and they ask oh, where else are you looking? And Ohio Wesleyan was one, and they're oh, screw them.
Well, they got intimidated probably because we play them in our conference.
Mm-hmm. But it's funny because they always say, "Oh, well, you don't need to go there because we beat them every year." That's the only thing they say. And I'm well, what are your other reasons for not going there? Give me a real reason other than you beat them every year, and you honestly don't beat them. Yeah, lately it's been that way, sadly.
Their first thing was I remember walking in and they were all right, we have this many championships, and I'm don't get me wrong, if Belichick or Saban did that, well, no,
that's a whole different story.
Yeah, they're up on the top of the pedestal. I'm all right, don't get me wrong, every kid wants to, win. I don't, we're in the weight room, my whole motto now is, you either win or lose, and I hate losing, so, and you should do that with any aspect. You should do that with
Wait a second, you say you hate losing, but you were the biggest Browns fan.
Hey, that wasn't, I don't want to say that wasn't by choice, but, it's kind of hard to be from Cleveland and not be a Browns fan. I was raised to be first and foremost, a Cleveland Browns fan, an Indians fan, and a Cavs fan, and a Buckeyes fan. But, growing up as, a young boy in Ohio, watching the Buckeyes every Saturday and playing football, you're just thinking, okay, my whole goal growing up when because I played receiver also in high school, was, all right, I'm going to go to Ohio State and break Chris Carter's Rose Bowl receiving record. when they played USC back in early 90s or late
right.
80s. And then once I realized that, I wasn't going to go to Ohio State, I don't want to say I drifted away, but it was like, all right, let's not follow them as much. Like I always tell people, like, and I'm going to get so much hate for this, it is a cardinal sin to be from Ohio and not root for the Buckeyes.
What blows my mind is the people that are from Ohio, born in Ohio and everything, and are Michigan fans. That's what blows my mind. I'm fine with like other teams almost, but it's the ones that are Michigan fans. That's where I'm like,
well, isn't Charles Woodson from here and went there, or is that Desmond?
Yeah,
one of the two. One of the two is from here.
Yeah, they're from,
and they went to Michigan.
Well, that's like Jake Butt, the tight end they had. He's from around me at Pickerington. He went to Pickerington and he went to Michigan and stuff. Like a lot of it too. Sometimes these teams or these players, like I feel like it's the same in Michigan. They go to the opposite because of the fact that they don't get recruited by that school. And it's almost just out in spite of them.
Well, here was their situation back in, like, the 70s and 80s. Imagine if you had Bo Schembechler and then Woody Hayes. I go, that's like, Belichick and Saban showed up at your door. Like, you can't be wrong.
Yeah. Well, that was back then, too. It was a big thing. Like, if you're from Michigan, you're usually going to Michigan. Like, that was, like, the big thing. Like, you didn't lose out of in-state
That's
recruits.
what Chris Spielman did. Because he's from Madison, Ohio, which that's a powerhouse in Ohio. He was telling it was between Ohio State and Michigan, and his dad he told his dad, he goes, I think I'm going to go to Michigan. He goes, I'm going to tell you where we're going, you fucking traitor. He goes, you're going down to Ohio State.
But anyway, back to, so you came here because they had your major, and you want to be a history teacher?
Yes.
Yeah. So why do you want to do that?
So I'm into history because I'm into all history with sports, with the past and present. I believe you should learn from the past, or if you don't, you'll keep going in circles.
That's that's the Hunter Coyle quote right there.
And then if we're being honest, to be a teacher, it's pretty much as a student, but instead of doing homework, I'm grading, and instead of attending class, I'm teaching the class, and don't get me wrong, and the health benefits, it's just and I don't want to say teachers' pay is low, but I play basketball outside all during the summer. I do that in work. I don't really need much. I can make ends meet.
That makes sense. I respect that. Going to frat here at Ohio Wesleyan.
Yep.
What inspired you to do that?
Kellen Marshall, Ben Warden, Ethan Brooker, and Connor Volpe. God love them.
Would you recommend it to someone who's still in college right now or about to go to college?
Oh yeah, I love every second of it. So I was opposed to moving in the house, and then I ended up moving in there. And the fact that they're 3 doors down, I can bang on their door at 3 in the morning.
You're one of those guys.
No. I'm just saying. Well, all right, depends on what day it is, but
Depends on how much they piss you off that day.
Oh yeah. If it's after a Browns loss, oh god, open the door.
Speaking of Browns, let's get into that. That's where your true passion seems like it comes out. So tell me where you're kind of talk. If you're from Cleveland, you didn't really have a choice. I mean, not that you had a choice, but
you can't be from unless if it's the only leeway I give people is the Youngstown area, because God forbid this, you're a Steelers fan, but it's right on the border, and but if you're from Cleveland, even you have the Cincinnati area, which all right, you should be there. But if you're walking, let's say you're in Florida, and someone sees you have a Brown shirt on, they'll go, "You're from Cleveland." It's just you gotta take pride. I love the city of Cleveland. I was actually taking out the trash yesterday at the frat house, and I had literally shorts, slides, and no shirt. And people are like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I come from Cleveland. I'm used to this with lake effect." And they're like, "You're insane." And I'm like, "Not really." I kept on going, "This is just like March."
Oh, I love the people that come, especially here from out of state. And the first time it snows,
God.
the Florida and California kids, they freak out. They're like, "What the hell is this?" And we're like, "That's snow." And or in the fall when we're still wearing short sleeves to practice, and they all have sweatshirts on, and we're like, "Dude, it's not even cold yet."
I'm just wait till it starts snowing.
Yeah.
Or it's I was telling you before, so I'm like, the snow isn't bad because then you can get wet. Which I going to a lot of Browns games growing up, and still. You learn how to dress for the weather. So when we go out to practice, all right, wear certain tights.
Well, that comes with football too. You learn how to once it starts getting to that month.
Oh god, But the wind was. I was telling you, there was the thing that was killing me because you can at least control how wet you get. You can't control the wind because it's whatever you have exposed.
Yeah, I agree. So, you're a season ticket holder.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about, when did you get those? You're the one who owns your own season tickets, correct?
Yes. All right, so back in I got to go a little far back. So back in 95, the Browns moved, and they came back in 1999. My dad ended up getting season tickets, section 516, row 5, seat 1 and 2. I just got to say that because everyone's going to freaking want to know.
I was going to ask anyway because I knew you knew.
All right, so he had them, and he was taking my brother and I to, the games growing up. And, I understand they play on Sundays, and don't get me wrong, I understand church is Sunday, but I don't want to make this as a joke, but going to a lot of Browns games, you pray a lot. But, well, no,
it's true.
But I don't want to get so crucified for that, but it's true, because growing up my entire life, they were bad, and it was terrible. Like, you'll think this is funny. They went, let me finish this first. But so he had them till, I think, the year we went 1-15, or the year we went 0-16, and he was like, all right, I've had enough. And you can't blame him because he grew up, too, with the drive, the fumble, every Cleveland heartbreak to this point. And I'm like, you know what? I go, and this is me speaking of the future, too. I go, I want, just like how I got happy because my dad took me, I go, I want to take my kids, but, because my seats, I could be like, this is where your dad sat. Speaking of me, when I go with them, I was like, all right, I go, why don't you transfer into my name? And for the, past couple years, he's been helping me paying them out for it. So, they just actually increased them, which I'm not a big... They won. I'm not a big fan of.
I feel like if you already had tickets, like, they shouldn't... It's almost one of those, like, if you're already a season ticket holder...
Well, so there's this thing where last year with COVID, I didn't think they were going to have a season, which I thought, even after the season, everything happened, I still think we shouldn't have had it.
I agree.
And they had the option so training camp starts in August, and they wanted... you to make a decision by, I think, June or July when they sent out an email. And it was to, if you wanted to opt out. So I'm like, all right, I personally don't think they're going to have a season. So I opted out, and we put the money towards it. But my dad asked me, because, my name was on the bill. Or not the bill, but, like, the final thing to sign. So I'm like, all right, I go, we'll opt out. And worst case scenario, I'll go buy tickets, which, I hadn't sat anywhere else besides my seats in, 20 years. So it was really uncomfortable. But we put it towards... we put it towards next year. Well, after they started off 4-1, I got an email saying that they're going to increase price, and I'm like, they are 4-1.
Of course.
Let's calm down here for a second.
Everybody was jumping the gun once they started out good. That's the thing is, like, especially the Browns, like, diehard Brown fans, like, people are like, oh, the Browns are bad, like, the Browns are good, and you're like, no, hold on, stop. Like, don't jinx it. Let's just keep going with
so I didn't, so you'll think this is funny. So I grew up my entire life, the Browns were terrible. You'll think that's funny. So in high school, my junior and senior year, we went 1-31, and I got to include the tie. It makes it sound better. And every Monday, I would wear my track warm up was a black sweatshirt with black sweatpants. Because black is like a moral loss, like you wear at a funeral. And I would wear that every Monday. Well, it got to the point where every Monday I was wearing it, where without asking, teachers would do it, friends would do it, and they would be like, oh, my ex-girlfriend did it, and she was not a fan of the Browns She was not a fan of the Browns. And I'm like, why are you doing it? They're like, dude, trust me. We feel you, man. Well, the one win they had, we were on Christmas break. So literally my junior and senior year, every Monday, I was wearing all black.
Oh, man.
And, like, my teachers, I would walk in and, like, I would walk in and I'd be like, they'd give me a wave off the top of their, with their hand off the head, and they'd be like, let's give them a little break on Monday. And I'm like, but if they play on like a Thursday, I'd wear it on Friday,
Yeah.
Even in high school, like when you wear your jerseys on Friday, like don't get me wrong, I was so focused on playing, when I was in high school I was focused, but it was like underneath that, it was black and black. But, most people are like, God, you are insane. I'm like, if you're not like, if you're not, that's just simple. If you're not from Cleveland, you don't get it.
No.
Because people are like, oh, the Bills put on fair. And I'm like, dude, we've been doing that. We've been doing that shit since the dog pound in like the 80s. And I'm not saying Bills fans aren't, enthusiastic fans, because they are, but I believe it's us, Oakland, because they have the black hole, the Bills, and the Eagles. People are like, oh, I'm a Steelers fan, I'm a diehard fan. I'm like, when you go
there's a lot of fake Steelers fans though.
when you go 1-31-1, and I'm just gonna say this out front, I sat my ass through wind, rain, snow, any way possible, just to watch them lose by that, and those games weren't close. They were like 44-14. I go, then you can talk about being, a diehard fan. Like, I'm not saying, like, the people who, like, left ship, but, like, when they started winning this year, I don't want to say I started calling people out, but I was like, where were you when we went 0-16? And, like, I'll give credit to my dad saying this. He was like, you know what? He goes, just because they were lost, he goes, doesn't mean you can't accept them back. The Browns as a fan base have lost people who were born in 99, an entire generation, except, the people like me and some people who are like, forced their children to be Browns fans, and like we started. So I don't ever use the P word, and the P word's the word playoffs for the Browns. So like I always say, how the Browns can make the playoffs just mathematically, and I'll find any way possible. Like,
oh, you were posting on your social media.
Oh yeah,
I was looking at it, and I'm like, dude, I don't even understand this, but I feel like it's right.
By the way, I'd like to give a shout out if anyone want to watch. I do Instagram Live Sunday. I want
to talk about that actually, because
right.
I was gonna where did that come from? Like, what did I feel did it just start this year, right?
No, all right.
Was it last year too?
So we won. I just used their record because it makes it easier for me. So when we went 1-5, my favorite game all time, as I went to, except there was an exception with this year, Week 17 against the Steelers, because I still got to weigh them out. But my favorite game all time was the Chargers when we went 1-15 because that was our only win. Well, it was Christmas Eve. It was our first and only win of the year, and I just went live after that. And, like, I did it back when it was the Instagram Lives where it would only save for 24 hours. Like, you couldn't save it on there. Yeah. Which I thought was fine, because I was doing it. And, I started doing it. It started picking up. And they went 0-16. And then just turned to me screaming on there. And everyone just starting, like, but everyone was viewing it. I'm like, all right. And then when we went, it started picking up when we went, when Baker Mayfield's first year here. Because people were like, oh my God, he's actually happy now. Because I'm on there going,
this isn't so depressing as what used to be.
Well, people felt so bad, and I'm like, I understand your sympathy, but like, because I have people who, who don't like me, don't get me wrong, everyone has it, but they have more faith in me than to like run the Cleveland Browns and other teams than the people who they're hiring. I go, people have been saying since I was 16, 17. I go, I'm 20. I go, I got a lot more knowledge in sports now. This year picked up a lot because, everyone, well, first, they were good. I think it goes hand in hand with that. But it also probably is the fact that I went to college, I got more people to, I was following more people, I got more people in it. Like, I was actually talking to my buddies about this the other night. Week 1, we lost to the Ravens, and it had the most views because everyone was like, oh, see, because last year we didn't do so well, but they were like, oh, I told you so. I think that's why because, like, well, people comment on there, and I'll read it. Like, it's interactive. It's not just me going, all right, this, and that. Like, I give my opinion, but I also grade the Browns out harder than they should themselves because, I got a lot more time invested than normal people. But, like, if you ask a question on there, I go, I'll answer it honestly. It's interactive and stuff, but, it picked up a lot this year, and I usually do them. So if I'm at the game, I do them when I'm in my car on the way home, and if I'm like here at school, I'll do it usually. If it's a 1:00 game, I usually do it like 4:30 because that's when it ends. But
it's basically like right after the game usually.
Because everyone knows I'm gonna be on then,
Mm-hmm.
But like I won't just talk about the Browns, but I'll talk about any way they can like. I post on Twitter every Sunday night when they play. I'm like how the Browns can blah 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 or do something like that, But if it's like. Something about like the Steel. Like I don't really like talking about bad about other teams because like we could go 5-11 next year. Which is why I told you I didn't use the P word this year until we officially clinched.
Yeah.
And I'm very honest on Twitter. I will literally comment and go, the Browns suck. They need to get rid of him. And people are like, how are you seeing that? You're a fan. And I'm like, I'm a fan, but I'm a realist.
Yeah.
I'm like, when you've gone through the crap, I go the countless names that I have, it humbles you a lot. No, yeah, it started picking up this year, and I'll do it like because people will repost it, and I'm like, holy crap! I go, I didn't realize, these people, how many people were watching it, and like someone actually started. There's this thing on Instagram now where you can keep it on a collection. I didn't know that, and I'm like, oh, sweet. I go because I got people who are like in the middle of the night. I'll get a like, and I'm like, this is week 3. I'm like, we're in January, and I'm like, Jesus.
You ever thought about starting a podcast for it?
I thought about starting I thought about somewhat, but I like the like when I'm at the game, people can see my I have no knock on podcasts Because, like, you can feel
I was going
it.
to say, you
But,
better not have, like, shit, I'm putting you on one right now.
Well, no, I have nothing towards it. Like, I'm all a fan because it's, it's like live radio, But, like, when I'm at the game, like, you'll see me on the way back. Like, I was so week 17. I don't ever wear a flag at all. But my buddies got me to do it. And, you saw how I was like, we're going to the playoffs. And I'm like, you couldn't see the emotion if I was on, just I love podcasts too,
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely see, like, I feel like you could expand on it if you wanted to, but they'd take more time. But it is something, like, you could almost do both in a way, to where, like, you do your live videos after games, and then, like, you almost do, like, a recap of it in a podcast or a YouTube video or something.
Ooh, I didn't, that
just
YouTube
thought
video.
about it.
Well, I thought about taking the videos and putting them on YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be really easy to do.
Because all you
do is, it's pretty simple. It just takes a minute to upload, and then you're good. So, I'm going to ask you, so how many games have you actually been to? Do you know?
For the Browns?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm not a big math guy. Let's just, except if it comes to gas for my car, money I got to spend, or Browns numbers. I am terrible at math. Like, my buddies and my parents call it Moyer math. You got to add or subtract 20 or something to it. But let's see, hold on. So I've probably been going since, 8 or 9, and there's 10 home games. Are you including preseason here or no?
Yeah, as many, whatever you want.
All right, so if we're including preseason, that's 10 a year. I'd probably go when I was first younger for the first 4 years. So 24. I've probably been 100, around 100, a little above, a little below, somewhere around that, because it got to the point where at the end of my dad's 10 year of owning them, he would roll over and go, "Here are the tickets. Go find someone." And I'm like, I don't blame him. I'm like, people who are older than us who are Browns fans have really they've taken a beating.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, and I plan on going to a lot more. We actually, as I said earlier, we renewed them for next year. So, but and people got so pissed off at me during this year because they were good for. I don't count 2007 because I was 7, but people were like, "Oh my God, they're so good," and I'm like, we'll be 4-1. I'm like, the only thing that's guaranteed is 4-12. Because I could see us start, 8-1 and finish 8-8, and people are gonna be the same people who are gonna say, "Oh, you're gonna playoffs." See, I told you so. And I'm like, weren't you the ones that said to me earlier that we were going to the playoffs? Oh man.
Who is your favorite player? We'll go favorite player from the past, offensive side of the ball.
Ozzie Newsome. That's the reason why I wear 82.
Fair enough. Defensively, past.
So it would probably be easy for me to choose Hanford Dixon and Frank Minifield because they named the dog pound. But I'm going to go with someone, and this is probably the right timing because he should be in the Hall of Fame by now, Clay Matthews.
That's fair.
There's numbers that are putting up, against Junior Seau, who are already in there, and he's beating them, and I'm like, all right, it's I understand he didn't win here or win a lot in the NFL, but, stats, numbers don't lie.
Yeah, exactly. All right, now we're going to present. Favorite player from the offensive side of the ball
right
currently.
Now? All right, everybody's going to think it's Baker Mayfield. It's not.
That's fair.
But I got a nice story if you want to hear about it real quick.
Oh, yeah, let's hear it.
All right, so I'm not going to disclose where Mayfield lives or how I found this out.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, no, one of my buddies lives right by him.
Okay, that's fair.
But I'm not going to disclose where it is because I wasn't supposed to do that. But, I got to meet him, and, he asked me, he was like, "Hey, do you like me as a quarterback?" And I said, "I like you because you win." And he was like, "Yeah, right." I'm like, "No." I go, "I've seen 29 other guys, and the only exception I would say is Tim Couch because, that man took a beating, and he still won here. He took us to playoffs, but I tell people, I'm like, I like you if you win. But my favorite player right now is either, probably Nick Chubb or Jarvis Landry because, they changed. Jarvis changed the atmosphere. And, Nick Chubb, people are like, "Oh, Mayfield's the offense." No, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are the offense with the offensive line, and Mayfield steps up when he needs to, which is what I tell people, I go, he's like Brian Sipe, if anyone knows who that is. Brian Sipe was the NFL MVP, the last MVP for the Browns, 1980. But, he was, I don't want to say a game manager, but he was a strong-armed and stepped up when he needed to, and his rapport with his receivers, like Higgins, he would have Higgins, Landry, Donovan Peoples-Jones, a guy who a lot of people don't know this year who stepped up, who I like is Cardale Hodge, which I think they should sign back, but I know you're going to go with my favorite defense player right now. Ooh. All right, I want to say it's a joke, but I'm going to go with Andrew Sadeo. I'm just kidding. No.
I was going to say, Jesus
No. Well, Right, probably this year defense. Porter Gustin, defensive lineman. When we were playing the Steelers, well, he was the guy who would fill in for Myles Garrett, and he's a big, heavy-set guy. I go, when we were playing the Steelers in the playoffs, when you were that size and you were diving in the air and you were getting spinned for the ball and you are making like league minimum, that's heart right there, and I love that.
That's what you need to play at Cleveland. Well, I feel like that's almost like that's where you saw the shift, is like they wanted to play for Cleveland, like when they started on the come up. Like, I'll ask you then, what do you think happened? Like, when did the shift happen, and what do you think it was?
So, all right, so last year, as in the year when we went 6-10, Freddie Kitchens was here with John Dorsey, and John Dorsey was like a puppet master. He thought he could control everybody, which is why I think right now he doesn't have a job. He was with Jackson, but he was like a team consultant, just to stay in the league. But when Kitchens was here, like I went to Arizona last year when they played, and they were getting in his face. I go, if I was a head coach and my player got in my face, I would tell him to go sit his ass down, and he wouldn't play the rest of the game. I don't care who you are. But they brought in Jarvis Landry, Andrew Berry, which a lot of people were like, the youngest GM in the league. But if you go hand in hand with your head coach, which huge shout out to Kevin Stefanski, he changed the atmosphere here in Cleveland. He said, and I always tell people this by your first signing, he signed a fullback, and how you win in the AFC North is you run the ball in December. Because look at the Steelers: Jerome Bettis, Franco Harris, the Ravens, Ray Rice, and right now let's go J.K. Dobbins, Mark Ingram. The Browns when they were good. Ernest Biner and Kevin.
Ingram's gone now, isn't he?
Who?
Ingram's gone now.
You're right, yeah, because they put the thing on of everyone signing his jersey, which that can only help the Browns. They're good, man. They were the team. Once they lost, I said, okay, we really have a shot here.
No, but it is true.
Well, every team is beatable. I thought to beat the Chiefs, people were like, oh, it's the head-to-head. No, we lost because you put 3 points up on the board in the first half, and you had the ball with 8 minutes left, and you didn't score.
Yep.
I go, I don't care that Mahomes was out. I go, and the Bills, look at the Chiefs. They were beatable. All you had to do was run the ball and, use your receivers, which that's what the Browns, screens, small, short passes, which is what they were doing. So that's the reason why people are like, oh, did you watch the Bills-Chiefs game? And I'm like, I had it on his background, but it was really hard because, I knew that my beloved Brownie should have been playing.
You were mourning the loss still.
Well, no, back to what we were talking about, how usually I put, how the Browns can do this after it. Well, when we put the Steelers, I was like, how the Browns can make it to the AFC divisional round. Well, after the Chiefs game, I put something down there. It was like how my beloved Browns can. I said, oh, wait, I put a nice message because I was like, I thank them. Because, nothing is promised in life. People are like, oh, there's always next year, which is a very typical phrase in Cleveland. I'm like, no. I'm like, nothing is promised. I'm like, it could be one injury. I go, let's say offensive lineman gets hurt and he's done, let's say he blows his knee out, never plays again. Well, they're 7-9, you don't make the playoffs. That's the one difference. I'm like, that's why you always have to, I don't want to say live in the present, but and take it. Like this year, when they were playing, it was literally Monday through Saturday. It was how can the Browns win? Because I watched after they play on Sunday. I'll watch the game fully on Monday myself, and I'll just take mental notes and critique it. Because I don't know what I'm talking about. So. But I truly, and everybody's going to say this, they're like, why don't you go work for the Browns? And I'm like, I truly believe when I get older, I'm going to start teaching and coaching, and I'm going to somehow end up in the Browns. I don't care if it's selling tickets, but,
hey, you got to have, I talked about it last week, you have to chase your passion. Don't ever, stop. Don't, just because, people are going to tell you, it can't happen, doesn't mean it won't.
Well, if you got, I'm going to steal a thing from a movie. If you ever seen The Pursuit of Happiness, it's like if you got a dream, you got to protect it. There's going to be a lot of people that are breaking it down because, they don't believe in themselves or they don't believe in their dreams. So, and I always tell people, I'm like, my whole scenario this year, which finally happened, my whole scenario growing up was week 17, you're playing the Steelers at home, it's win or you're out. And it almost got to the point where it was win and you win the division. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, it's like my dream just took steroids. And so as I said earlier, I opted out of the tickets. Well, one of my buddy's dads had tickets this year, and they were selling them in packages where it was Eagles, Steelers, Texans, Ravens. Well, I told my buddy that, and he said, I don't care how much they cost. He goes, sign her name for the Steelers game. Well, I ended up getting the Eagles game too because I went to the Eagle. I think I went to 4 or 5 this year. But which was really weird because I sat in different seats for the first time in 20 years, and I was like, oh my, I went to the Washington football team game with Ben, And I stood the entire first quarter. And he goes, why are you standing? He goes, I don't think I can get myself to sit. He goes, you're being a child. I'm like, no, I'm not. And I'm like, I feel like I'm cheating on my seats. And I know that sounds really, like, low, but, like, it's, like, something, you know, it's just, like, normal. Like, most people are like, oh, I need to pull up the address game. And I'm like, and I don't want people to think, oh, you are so much better because you have Browns tickets. I'm like, no, that's not what it is. It's just, you know, when you go out all the time and go out to eat, I'm like, just imagine that taking that money and putting it into a pile. Well, after you do all that, I take the pile and I put it towards the tickets. You break them up and go out and get food. Or go out and buy a nice shirt or something like that. You know. You
prioritize your what you want. I mean, it's a good thing to do. Like, it's actually, you know, even though you talked about, you know, how much money you have for this, but you also look at it like you're already ahead in life almost a little bit with your budgeting and stuff, and it's different because, you know, at our age it's hard to budget, and it's good that you can budget enough to, like, be able to pay for those tickets.
Well, I work at Marcos back home, and then I was scrubbing floors for the last 2 weeks. And I kept telling people are like, why are you doing that? I'm like, well, I'm paying for school, and I'm paying for the Browns tickets. They're like, what else? I'm like, gas. They think it's the same thing.
I mean, we already got a meal plan here, so there's no point in going out to eat.
They're like, what? And I'm like, yeah. I go, let's say I get $100. I go 50 and 50. There you go. Or, you know, or something like that. So, I don't know. I don't know. It's really hard to explain because people, you know, if you had any Browns fan who listens to this, will go like, you know what? He gets it. You know, everything I've probably said about the Browns is 100% true, even if it's bad, you know.
Did you meet Joe Yurick? Were you here when Joe was here?
No.
I
recognize the name because people have told me. Is he the huge Browns fan?
Yes.
Okay.
He was on for like the 4th episode on this podcast. I may have to do a joint episode with you two, and I probably won't even have to talk.
Oh,
you guys could literally like go back and forth for probably 3 hours, and then finally I'd be like, all right, we need to like wrap this up, please. But yeah, we might need to do a joint episode with you too.
Well, but going back to what I meant by talking about, if you're not from Cleveland, you don't get it. Like, the Cavs won the championship, you know, and that was for the first time since 1964. You know, don't get me wrong, that was awesome. But, you know, it's been, 4 years? It doesn't feel, like, the weight's been lifted, but it doesn't feel fully lifted. You know, because that is a Browns town. Like, when the expression, or the saying was, when the Cavs won the championship, they ran out of alcohol. When the Browns won the championship, I tell people, if you had a map, you wouldn't see Cleveland on there. I go, because, no, we would burn it. And I go, I'd be down there burning it with them. You know, there's not as much as all the Cleveland sports suck, because I'm not just Browns. Indians, Cavs, like, you know, the Cavs are playing right now. I always think, you know, with the Browns, game, like, training camp, how can they make the playoffs? Or with the Indians, how can they win the division? Or the Cavs, like, how can they make at least the 8th seed? You know, you know, my buddies call me Mr. Cleveland, you know, which is true. But, you know, and I'm actually surprised you haven't talked about that at home. So I drive a Jeep, and I take a flag that's about, you know, like the size that you can put in your house, and I bungee cord it to the back of my Jeep. And I just drive around, and, you know, people are like, hey, and, like, I'll get bored, and sometimes we're winning, I'll just stick my finger out the window and be like, number 1! People honk, wave. I took, like, a honk, wave, give me the finger. I'm like, because if you're giving me the finger, I go, you're going to laugh at it. It makes your day. I go to 2 for 1.
Exactly.
So, but, no, this is what I tell people. Like, most people right now from Cleveland are raised on, you know, like, unfortunately, I'm going to have to raise my kids on how they sucked. You know, I was raised on, you know, Bernie Kosar, Webster Slaughter, you know, all the players in the 80s. Like, you know, I always people are like, how do you know this? I'm like, well, you know, those are the last times we were good, you know, and talking about LeBron, and I'm really going to get crucified for this. LeBron's from Cleveland, okay? Like, he's from Akron. I don't think LeBron is the kid from Cleveland, you know.
LeBron, he's the kid from Akron.
Well, everyone's saying, oh, he's from Akron, Cleveland, you know. He's like, that's his persona. Oh, he's just, you know, he's from Cleveland. Well, he left twice, okay? Like, he had the choice. Most people don't know this. Bernie Kosar is from the Youngstown area and manipulated the draft to play in Cleveland. That is Cleveland's son right there, because he didn't choose to leave. He chose to screw around and figure out how to get here. You know, I go, and there's not many people that really want to go. And he went to college at the U, Miami. Mm-hmm. So he went from sunny Florida back to Cleveland, Ohio. I go, that guy's awesome. Plus, he won here. You know, the huge thing is winning, because I believe, you know, I grew up with a lot of losing in all 3 sports. You know, and I always tell people, I go, you know, Monday through Saturday are, you know, and I took this quote from Bernie, Monday through Saturday are determined between Sunday from 1 to 4. You know, because that's usually when the Browns play. If they lose, I go, you should be you should be. I'm not gonna say pissed off or upset, but you should be disappointed. Like we played this. We made the playoffs for the first time since 2002, which that's 18 years right there. I was 2, and I'm 20 now. I just want everyone to know that. And I went to the Steelers game week 17, and I ended up going home, and I got I was so happy, and I just I get down to my room, and I'm still wearing everything I was wearing at the game, and it was cold. I know how to dress, but I had probably a couple layers. I probably had a couple layers on. Like it wasn't like I had 6. But I got people are gonna say, oh, you're being so emotional about this. I went down to my room. My room's in the basement, my mom's, and I just sat there, and it all hit me. Every time growing up, and I just sat there for a decent probably 30 minutes, and just and it wasn't like soft tears. I was crying. People were like, oh, he's just doing it for attention. I'm like, no, I was called a loser. You're supporting a losing team. You're never gonna win. And I understand we didn't win the Super Bowl this year, but I just want to point out you can't call the Cleveland Browns, call them a losing organization, but you can't call them losers. Because
that's good. Because
the atmosphere, and you see it too. It has changed. It has changed. You don't have to be from Cleveland to realize that. Because it was Cleveland is a career where you go to die. Careers go to die. And now it's holy shit. Well, the Indians are a different story. I don't know what the hell they're doing. The Dolan brothers are twins. Well, there's a rumor that they're going to move.
Really?
And that was, if you're from Cleveland, that was Channel 3. So it's like, holy shit. It's like, that Channel 3 is like 358. It's like, televised a lot. And, the rumor is, and I'm just saying that I don't want to scare anybody who's listening who's an Indians fan, but I just wanted to let you know. So if the Dolans, I think they should sell the team, but they're from Cleveland, and the rumor is that if they sell it to someone outside of Cleveland, because we have the lowest fan attendance since the World Series, they'll move the team. And I'm like, oh my God, I go, you can't do this again, because they moved the, some, pardon my French, asshole, moved the fucking Browns.
All right, final questions here. Well, some of the final questions I'm going to ask you. If you could go back in time, tell yourself anything, when would it be and what would it be?
Holy shit. Let's see. Well, I want to first and foremost say this. You shouldn't have any regrets in life.
I agree.
I tell people, I go, when you die, I go, you should have about a handful, 5 or 6 regrets. I go, because then you really didn't live life to the fullest. So, I don't know. As an athlete, I would probably tell myself to take it easier on my body from playing pickup basketball so much. And as a student, I would say try a little bit harder because I would have gotten a little bit more money. And I'm not saying I don't like the place I'm at right now, but I gotta make ends meet somehow. I told you I was scrubbing floors. But,
exactly.
And I go scrubbing floors is not. If you think it's fun, go do it for a week. It's not fun at all.
It's fun for maybe the first day, and then after that, you're like, yep, I'm done.
Well, this is what most people don't know. I was scrubbing floors, and I threw out my back. And people are like, oh, you just back swing. I'm like, no. I'm like, I threw out to the point where I couldn't move, and I had to get up. I had to go to another house. And I just popped an Advil, and I just this is probably the thing from football. Where toughness is built. I just sucked it up and just got the job done.
You don't have a choice. Ibuprofen, I'd be playing.
That's a good one. I like that.
What are the goals of Money Moyer going forward?
Like, just in life?
Yeah.
I'm going to graduate. I'm going to graduate on time. I'm going to try to come out with less student debt. I'm going to keep my love for my beloved Brownies in the city of Cleveland. And I'm going to try, for our football team, I want to get a nice ring on our finger. I don't care if that's me, sitting on the sidelines or me going on the field. I've gone in every sport. High school I lost. I went to 3 Final Fours and lost. In track, I'd make it to districts and regionals. But someone would always outbeat me. I don't want to say I always, I was the bridesmaid, never the bride. But, then you got the Indians, Cavs, the Browns, never winning. I want to finally, as a Clevelander and an athlete, I want to finally get over. I've had moments, but, until you get a nice ring on your finger, that's the difference,
I respect that, and it's a good thing. My personal thing is strive for that ring because, especially my junior year, I watched it all unfold to just be gone, and it's just it sucks that it always comes down to the last game. My senior year of high school, I had the same, or sophomore year of high school, we lost in the last game to a 1-8 team, and we were
that's Cleveland Brown shit right there.
We blew it, and Yeah, and then that was we lost conference.
Well, most
come to college, watching Wittenberg celebrate on their field after that game.
Well, I agree with you about that with the striving for greatness stuff because I grew up. It was you want to ride, either find one or get on your bike or walk. A lot of kids these days are just handed shit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say I wasn't handed anything, but it was like you
still had to work for what you wanted.
Really didn't. When I was growing up, you really didn't ask your parents for money. Like my buddies will agree with that too. They're like we had the select few who were like who lived, we all lived in nice houses. I'm not saying we were like dirt poor, but it was like we did stuff where we played basketball somewhere, we played baseball. It was like we rode our bikes in the park and then we rode home, or and we all pitched in for like pizza or something like that every day. And most kids these days are just inside. It's participation trophy. I'm not a fan of that. I go but that's why winning means more to some people, like you and I. That's why I said if any Cleveland sports team won, I go it would if any Cleveland sports team won again, it would mean a lot more to Clevelanders and any other people. I go because people who were handed stuff. I go don't get why you're crying after a win, like if we won the championship. People from like Pittsburgh or New England, why are you crying after week 17? Well, because I got 30 other guys I can name through quarterbacks where you guys have had one.
Yeah.
Who's won a 7th Super Bowl? Who's gonna? I don't want him to win, but he's gonna fucking find a way.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I don't want him to win, but
he'll find a way.
He's one of those people you hate, especially I feel like Ohio, especially nobody likes him, but you respect him.
Well,
he's hard not to respect. He's a great
because winning shuts people up.
Yeah.
Well, I always tell people because we were talking about Michigan earlier, and Tom Brady went to Michigan. This is what I tell people. This is how it's structured in Ohio. Well, it should be at least in Northeast Ohio. I know this. You could be from Michigan, and everyone's a diehard Buckeyes fan there. And you can come to the Browns like Braylon Edwards, and you could be good for you, and then you could throw a temper tantrum. Well, and then you're gonna get out. People are like, oh. And then the player like Brownie was like, oh, you guys hate me because I'm from Michigan. No, if you're from Michigan and you play good here, we don't give a shit. Because look at Donovan Peoples-Jones, or there's some people in the past who are from Michigan. Don't get me wrong. Jabril Peppers was getting an argument with people at Drug Mart. And I'm like about how he's from Michigan. I'm like, no, it's because you don't play well. Because if your stuff on the field, I would rather take, and this is with the whole OBJ thing, because everyone's been asking me my opinion on that. I would rather take a guy or a couple guys who have better character and can improve their game, because it's a lot easier to improve your game than your character.
Well, it keeps the morale of your team up too. That's what helps.
I didn't see Odell. The only time I saw him post about the team was when they called out Nick Chubb against the Chiefs, and every time before that it was how I'm getting better. I'm like, no, dude. I'm like, which is why I don't want. That's another thing. The atmosphere here on the team, everyone. It's not like. I'm a senior. I'm gonna kick your ass here at Ohio
It's
Wesleyan.
funny that you say that because I'm thinking about that episode. Do you know Carter Franklin? Were you here when Carter Franklin was here? Yes.
I was.
He made the hype videos for our team on Twitter.
Oh yes, and yeah.
I had him on, and he's making videos this year for Myles Garrett.
Oh my god.
And when we got to the
guy's lucky.
end, when he got towards the end of the season, Myles Garrett wasn't getting as much stat-wise and these big sacks that he could use for his video.
COVID really hit him.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And then he said, I think it was Miles' idea or Jeremy has got, he said, make it more of instead of an individualized video for Myles Garrett, the videos that you see Myles Garrett post on his Instagram and stuff.
Those are his?
He makes them.
Holy. Oh my
but
God.
Is
he the one that's working with Mayfield where it's believe or not believe with a 6 or something like that?
No.
You know what I'm talking about,
yes,
though, right?
But no.
Okay.
Yeah, but he said they made that. He's make it more of a team, involve the other players, make it more about the rest of it, not more individualized on me. So it's kind of funny that you say that. Odell, it's about him, but there's other players are now picking up. I feel like it could have spread to Odell. Odell is a head case at times, but
at times
it's one of those things that it's starting to spread. I feel throughout that team it's no longer about individual players on the team.
It's the team.
It's
if you're playing for your brother, I don't care what sport it is. If you're playing for the guy for your left and your right, then you're, even in track it was like that because you got on a relay you got 3 other guys. you got to do it for. But, if you're playing, offense, I always tell people the offensive line is, you're only going to go as far as your offensive line, in football. I don't care if that's D3 football. I don't care if it's NFL or if it's Pop Warner.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't playing. A lot of people, like, Odell, I believe Odell's playing for, like, accolades and stuff like that. Like, don't get me wrong. That's fine. But if you look at the people who are, there's good, great, and then there's, Jim Brown, Jerry Rice, Chris Carter tiers. Those guys played because, one, they were freak athletes. But if you took the athleticism away, Jerry Rice is still going to go run up that hill for 22 miles because it's hard and he was, he hated losing, which I don't. There's only a select few people that will have that drive, but you should have a drive with anything you do in life. I don't care if it's waking up and go, you know what, I'm going to go on a run, or you know what, I'm going to finish all my homework today or something like that. Because it can go anywhere outside. It can go anywhere broad in life. It could be, I'm going to be a better father today. Because that can make the difference. Because anything can make the difference. Because I always tell my buddies back home, I don't care how stupid it is. One, if you don't believe in yourself, you won't do it. And two, if you really need someone to believe in it, I'll believe in it, because it takes one person, and you never know how far that can go. Because just like the Browns, they're young, and the worst thing you can do for a young team is give them confidence. I don't care what sport it is. But they have that, and that's why they're scary.
With that, I think it's time to lead into my favorite segment of the podcast, Motivation Monday. Motivation Monday is where usually the true passion comes out, but I can't necessarily say that with you because you've had passion this whole episode and I love it. But I like to give my guests the opportunity to share something inspirational for our Roughnecks listeners on their Monday morning. So what do you have for Motivation Monday?
Oh, that's a good question. I got to think about that because each person is motivated differently. Mm-hmm. Like how I just said, some people are motivated, money, accolades. This is the first time I'm going to be honest, you made me think today. Because, I've known every other answer. But, motivation. I'd probably go with there's things outside of life besides money and stuff. Like, there's internal drive, I'll talk, three things I think there's three things in life you can control. Your grit, your character, and how you treat other people. If you're motivated to be a great person, then you're going to have great character. If you're motivated to be a great worker, then you're going to have great work ethic and grit. It's all three of those things. I'm not going to say they're taught, but they're all learnable. But if you shouldn't need certain things to motivate yourself. Like, you should just be able to, don't get me wrong, I want to go win a starting spot, but I should motivate myself by going, what, today I'm going to wake up and get better. And if you think that, I'll still think you go 1-0 every day.
I like it. Now, time for the last segment of the podcast, which is the newest segment. I actually started it with Carter Franklin. It's called Rapid Fire. Rapid Fire is a segment. I'm going to ask you a variety of questions. They're this or that, usually. Answer them as quickly as possible. You ready?
Shoot.
Here we go. Night owl or early bird?
Early bird.
Kicking or punting?
Kicking.
Browns games. Night games or afternoon games?
Afternoon.
Thursday or Sunday?
Sunday.
In person or on TV?
In person.
Home or away?
Home.
Myles Garrett or Baker Mayfield?
Ooh, Myles Garrett.
Chubb or Myles Garrett?
Nick Chubb.
I figured that one. Who is better, the Browns offense or the Browns defense?
Browns offense, defense is liability.
Cleveland Browns or the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Cleveland Browns.
Who's going to the Super Bowl next year?
Cleveland Browns.
That's what we like to hear.
You should have known that was the answer.
That's why I threw that in there. With that, that's a wrap on episode 21 of the Roughnecks Podcast. Moyer, I think you were a perfect guest for this month with passion. Thank you for joining the show. Where can people find you on social media?
On Twitter, it should be Moyer, Moyer, 3282. And then where you'll see me post playoff scenarios for the Browns week to week. And then for Instagram, if you want to watch the Instagram lives, it will be Moyer, Moyer, 32_82.
Make sure you give him a follow. Sign us off, Moyer.
All right, this is Nick Moyer. Thank you for listening to this wonderful podcast. And go Browns, baby!
Yeah, see you next week. But for now, Roughnecks out. Man, I told you that Money Moyer has a strong passion for his Browns, and it is very obvious that he loves the Browns. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and everything that Moyer talked about, and I hope you enjoyed the little bit of tidbits that he gave to help drive you. Maybe he can inspire you to chase after your passion and love your passion as much as he loves the Cleveland Browns. If you liked today's episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review so that way you don't miss any of the next episodes in the coming weeks. Joining me next week is a very special guest. He is on TV in the mornings. Some of you from the Central Ohio may know him. He is Matt Barnes from NBC4. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Roughnecks Podcast, Twitter at Roughnecks Pod C1. And if you want to get in contact with me about potential sponsorship or collaboration, then you can email me at roughneckspodcast@gmail.com. But for now, you know the deal. Until next week, Roughnecks out.
Oh, thank you.